Amazing fellowship yesterday. Amazing fellowship. Amongst many things we dealt with last week, biblical question. All human beings are idol worshipers. Why? All human beings are idol worshipers. Why? It was interesting, the feedback and the understanding that came from it was amazing. And the reason that all human beings are idol worshipers until they overcome is all human beings believe in thoughts. They worship their thoughts. And because they don't know any better. They have not been told that all thoughts are all lies all the time and that you should never, ever believe them. And so you grow up in the imagination. And then you worship the thoughts, the ones that sound good and make you feel good, and the ones that sound bad and make you feel bad. And you go back and forth. But the problem is, that is a problem. And because of it, you have a twisted mind. Because thoughts are of your daddy, the devil, until you overcome it. Thoughts are of your daddy, the devil. And the devil's thoughts are twisted. They're dark. They're wicked. There's no good in the devil's thoughts, right? And so you have a twisted mind. And so you start to see everything in a twisted way. Everything. In an upside down way, a twisted way. And you have these ideas that come from the devil, and then you think that they are yours, but they're of the devil, they're not yours. And they're twisted. So you start to see Jesus in the wrong way because you have the wrong ideas about Jesus and God. Then you start to see preachers and pastors and bishops and popes and evangelical or evangelos, whatever they call themselves, in a twisted way. You make them your hero because you see them in the wrong idea, and you make them your God. And then when your idea is twisted to something else about Jesus, God, or the human being that you put as your leader, you blame them instead of realizing what was wrong with me that I made this person or these ideas about God in a twisted way. Why do I blame them for it? What was wrong with me that I did it? But because you don't question it, you never overcome it. You just go from one twisted God idea to another one. One to another, never finding out what's up with you and never overcoming. Isn't that amazing? And you never find God, even though you go to church and you hoop and holler and you carry on but you never find God, so you never overcome. There are people that are stuck in the Old Testament because of their idol worshiping of thoughts. And when you're idol worshiper of thoughts, then you're also an idol worshiper of outside, physical things, entertainers, so-called movie stars and things like that. They become your hero. You can see, I remember when that woman, Britney, not Britney, it may be Britney. Wasn't it that woman that got her freedom back from her father, so-called freedom back? Britney Spears. Oh, yeah, Britney Spears. When they were going to court and she was fighting for her so-called independence again from her father, there were dumb people standing outside holding signs and carrying on Free Britney. First of all, it wasn't their business. Secondly, they had made this woman their God, and they were out there marching Free Britney. You know something? Think about that. And then only thing that Brenda did was got back her money and her so-called freedom, but she doesn't care about them at all. She cares about the worship, idol worshiping that they give her. And she will fight to keep that going. But I can't blame Britney for that. I blame you because you're an adult. You have a responsibility as an adult to overcome that. But because you're an idol worshiper of thoughts, you don't realize that it's you. You don't know it's you. It feels good to be out shouting and hooping and hollering, free Britney, right? Same kind of thing with the abortion. Because you're an idol worshiper of thoughts, which makes you an idol worshiper of things outside of you as well. Someone can tell you to kill the man's baby in the womb. It's your body. It's your choice. And you worship that person that tells you that, and you start killing the man's baby in the womb, and you try to justify it. And when the conflict comes, and it will, and it does, from killing the baby in the womb, you justify the conflict. You get high, or you kill another baby, or you find a group that is in support of you killing children in the womb. At one time, I did not understand how idol worshiping came about. And I would hear the word from the so-called experts and others, but they never really explained how that came about. They would explain the person that you're idol worshiping. They never blame the people who are doing the idol worshiping. And you would think, well, what's wrong with the person that's doing the idol worshiping? How did that happen to them, and why do they do it? I remember when I reflect, I remember that guy Jim Jones from Northern California, how these people followed him to Ghana, I believe, and somehow or another end up drinking Kool-Aid and dying. You can't blame Jim Jones for that. And I don't care what his plan, his scheme was, but you as an adult were responsible for following somebody to Ghana, all in the name of religion, and then getting over there after a while, for whatever reason, this person can tell you, y'all come down, let's drink some Kool-Aid. We got to leave here. And you drink the Kool-Aid. But in the media, they blame Jim Jones for it and didn't put any of the blame on the people who followed him. Jim Jones did not make you get on the airplane. Jim Jones did not make you follow him there. You decided in your own twisted thoughts to follow him. All in the name of Jesus. What a mess, huh? So if you want to overcome being an idol worshiper, you got to overcome thoughts. All thoughts are all lies all the time about anything. They're lies about you and everyone around you in every situation. The thoughts are lies. That's why it's so important. I mean, it's up to you, of course, but to overcome them by getting to know thyself, to see what's going on with you. No one else is to blame for how you feel, whether good or bad or whatever, poor or rich or whatever. No one else is to blame for that but you. Your parents are to blame when you're little kids because they have a responsibility to be a living example of it, right? But because they're not, you're set up for the world. And the world has a grip on you, a tight grip that would never, ever let go. That's why God said you got to overcome it, because it's not going to voluntarily let you go. They're not going to do it, but you can overcome it. You really, 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 really can. I don't care what you have done in your life It doesn't exist anymore anyway, except in imagination. In your imagination and in the imagination of other of the devil's children, right? But you're going to have to get to know yourself so you can see the depths of the lie of the devil that made a home in you. You have to want it. And there are so many examples of this mind control thing I could give you that is mind-blowing. Once you wake up to it within yourself, you see it around you, inside of others. And that you will see that there are people out there working overtime night and day to keep you in that state. In that state for their own ego purpose. And if you try to overcome that state, if they know that you're trying to overcome it and that you are overcoming it, you become a bitter enemy. The devil would tell them, go after that one, stop him or her. They're trying to get away. And he will build an army against you. But you wouldn't worry about their army because greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world, inside of others. Isn't that amazing? The good news is you can overcome this fallen state. But you got to work on you. And most people are too lazy to work on themselves. They're just too lazy. They don't feel like, what do you mean? I got to pay attention to what I think and feel. I ain't got time for that. What the? I want more of that. I want more of the same. I want more of myself. I don't want to let go of myself. What the? And it's a mess. I know that today is a holiday, I believe, Martin Luther King birthday or something. I was thinking about the whole civil rights movement, which was one of the worst things that ever happened to the blacks, because they have not all, but most, have not overcome the idol worshiping of Martin Luther King Jr. and the so-called civil rights leaders. They're worshiping all of those guys. And they have not gotten better in their lives. They won't question it. They won't wonder why. Okay, Martin Luther King and that whole so-called civil rights movement were about making me free. Why I'm so enslaved? Why am I begging and blaming and still looking for leaders? And where will the movement end? Prior to the so-called civil rights movement, the word racism wasn't around, as far as I know. And now it's, however long that thing been, I think 30, 40 years or so, 50, 60, however long. The word racism is worse today than ever. You would think that thing got worse rather than getting better, and they did. They got worse because the people have fallen into idol worshiping, and the idols, their idols create that word. They recreate it, they reformat it, they reuse it to keep you in your fallen idol worshiping state. Blaming others. Anyone that blames someone else as an adult for your life, you're an idol worshiper. You believe in thoughts, you believe in feelings, and you believe in your idol worshipers outside of you that help confirm that what you're thinking is true. Isn't that amazing? Things have not gotten better for the blacks since the so-called movements happened. The blacks were more independent prior to Martin Luther King and his mess than they are today. They're worse off today. I've never seen crime and begging and blaming and affirmative action and reparation and the dependency on others. The men are as bad as the women. Others taking care of them. They are refusing to take care of themselves. Refuse it. Because they know that they can get it free now and it's destroying them. The so-called civil rights movement was, if it wasn't worse than abortion, is right there with it. Abortion And the civil rights movement is the worst thing that ever happened to the black. And you tell the black, y'all need to get over this worshiping. Y'all need to get over your anger. Because when you have anger, you can't help but be a worshiper. You're lost in darkness of your imagination. God said we must be born of the spirit of the Father. Otherwise, you're of the spirit of the devil. There is no gray area. There is no bouncing back and forward. You're either one or the other. You can't be a both. What the? But you gotta pay attention to what's happening inside of you. You really, really do. And you could be free and live a free life right here on earth. You do not have to wait until you die. Anyone that tells you that you have to wait until you die before you can be free, you better run from that person. Because you're talking to the walking dead. And so all human beings are idol worshipers. And you can prove me wrong. Watch yourself believing in thoughts. And all you're doing is going back and forth around and about nothing getting better. Life's not getting better for you, even though you feel good by believing a lie, thinking you're better than someone else, or you're the black Jew, the black so-called Israelite, or this person isn't. Just think, it's just a feeling you get from a word, but it doesn't change anything. Because if you were the so-called true Jew or the true Israelite or true whatever you're supposed to be, you would never have to prove it because it is. It is. And you don't have to prove it is. I'm a black Jew. And if I'm a black Jew, why do I need to be going around saying I'm a black Jew? Think about that. All thoughts are all lies all the time. I think about sometimes how people can make a church building so important. They worship the church building more than they worship God. And so they hear the word church, which is just a word, right? But then they fill in the blanks from the conditions that they have grown up in. A holy place, an image, a great image of the church. And you walk into the church, you got to be quiet. You got to act holy. You got to act a certain way. When it's all thoughts, when in reality, it's just a building. That's all it is. It's an empty building that you use to meet in and talk to one another, fellowship, whatever you want to call it. And then when you walk out of that building, it's just a building. But you build around the building through thoughts and the conditions that your parents and the world have put upon you. You make it holier than thou. The unholy making it holy. Think about that. When our bodies are the temple of the Lord, and it's that house you should consider. I beseech you, brother, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. Something like that. Holy and acceptable, right? And what that means is give over all your imagination, all your sin that is of the heart, everything to God. Give it to him by letting go of it, enduring it, and you're presenting your body a holy place by letting God destroy the darkness, the light of truth, the light of love, destroy the darkness of the imagination. Turn it all over to me, he says. Let go, give up, and I'll take care of it. The light will defeat the darkness. The darkness cannot defeat the light. The world has messed us up, folks. And no wonder it says overcome the world. The mind, the imagination, is a horrible thing to save. It's going to keep you. You have hell right here on earth. You don't have to wait until you die. You're already in hell. Fear, jealousy, envy, and strife. and trying to prove something and prove you're better and trying to make yourself feel better and doing this and doing that. Worshiping the devil, all in the name of Jesus.